Hey, everybody, and welcome to Signals from the Frontline, your every Wednesday live broadcast brought to you here by Frontline Gaming. We're your hosts, Kicker, the chief of cereal and FLG insider, Shelby, the hobby guru and most forgetful player in 40K, and I'm Seth, the Mad Doctor competitive correspondent. How's everyone been?
Oh, dude, it has been awesome. I have spent the past, 6 days painting terrain like no one's business. I want to get a table at my house that is epic. So I want to get ready. I got the GW Roadshow coming in like a month. So I'm like, let's just get a table at the house and start practicing.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, okay. What have you been up to, Shelby? What's going on with you?
Not bad. I don't know that I'm going to do anything 40K related, honestly, until it's time to start practicing for New Orleans. Probably mainly because I'm the worst 40K host.
I was like, Shelby,
I think on this whole squad.
New Orleans?
Look, I'm planning on it. Okay, so this upcoming weekend, I'm officiating a wedding, and it's going to be going from like Thursday to Sunday. The following weekend is Dragon Con. So I'm busy totally like teaching classes and definitely preparing properly for those, while also coming up with a bunch of cosplay ideas last minute.
Wait, what are you thinking? Come on, you got something.
One of them was super easy and it took like 2 seconds for us to do. We all ordered Squirtle onesies, and we're gonna be Squirtle Squad.
Yeah.
Super simple stuff. Also doing a splicer from BioShock. I've done that before, but it's just get like a nice dress up suit, cover it in blood, get a nasty weapon and a mask, and you're good. Pretty easy. So no, just like some last minute stuff that probably won't take too long.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. What about you, Seth? Why don't you show us what you've been working on?
I've been building a thing.
He's been
Da chopper! I built a chopper. I'll back that up.
That's massive.
It's just so great. How heavy is it actually?
It's really not that heavy. It's like maybe 2 or 3 pounds. I can't tell where it is on the screen. There we go.
So for those of you listening to our podcast, because you're not tuning in live like a loyal fan, Seth has managed to make a beautiful, beautiful hand-sculpted, hand-built, hand-painted.
Hand-built. It's out of foam and PVC and then painted it.
It's gorgeous.
I've never built a cosplay prop until that, so I was the first go at it, so I'm happy with it. That's going to be the next year. I'll be the trophy for whoever wins the best war boss at Charity Hammer.
Nice.
But that means I'm also going to build myself some more props for myself. And then my co-hosts have already like put in commission orders.
Oh
apparently.
Yes,
yeah. So that's a thing that they want. So.
Man, I see the quality that you just put out on that in the short amount of time that you did. Like, if that's something you actually like wanted to do as a side gig, I genuinely think you would kill it.
That's a new source of revenue right there for you, man. Just do it.
For sure. Sorry, people who are listening on the podcast, it's a
go
choppa,
to
and
YouTube,
it looks great.
and watch. I'll post all over social media with it, so you'll get sick of seeing it. You'll be like, he freaking choppa again.
Nicholas Dorich points out that you've also been busy regrowing your facial hair.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. I got the goatee back. It's all evened out. Isn't perfectly in time because next week I'm going to a work conference and have to look like an adult again. So, all right,
cool.
Kicker, take us into the industry news.
Well, hey guys, nothing too crazy on the new product news. On the rollout, we do have some Black Templar like teaser, right? We all saw the flamer for the new Black Templar model. It's probably not a new model. It's probably just a new like sprue, so you can give yourself some crazy flamethrower. There's also a new helmet variant, right? So what does this mean? Obviously, Black Templars are coming sooner than later. I think it's going to be the same. This is just my personal opinion, but I'm pretty sure I think it's going to be just like one of those sprues, those upgrade sprue, and just sell it separately on its own. It is cool. There's a lot of diehard Black Templar fans, so I'm sure this will be very popular, and you will be seeing these new 15-inch range flamethrower things that were like damage 2, but now damage 1. You guys saw that, right?
They got a real quick FAQ is what they got.
Real fast.
You're like, crap, delete.
Yeah, and the thing that's like really bothering me is where's this new Warzone book, right? It's been teased. We know it's got to be dropping soon. Where is it? That's the big surprise coming.
It's hanging out with the other codexes in the warp.
Yeah. I was like, warp travel time is fluid. It'll get here when it gets here.
Time is a wibbly wobbly construct.
Well, on the Frontline Gaming product news, the Mars mat, the beloved red Mars mat, it's a fan favorite, is now currently on sale for 18% off. So, if you want to, if you love us and you want to support the podcast and the Frontline Gaming network, you can go buy a Mars mat for 18% off.
Speaking of Mars, Kelsey made me laugh out loud and almost ruin your talking. He said, "Is there a tournament for the best AdMech player where the prize is a 3.5-inch floppy disk?" Can you work on that prop, Seth? Can you go find that prop?
Look, I can build one.
You can build one.
Okay, sorry.
No worries, guys. We do have the Las Vegas team tournament is coming up, and because the objective markers that we made for the SoCal Open sold so well, we're selling Las Vegas team tournament objective markers as well as the event tees. So those are all available right now on the website. You got to pre-order them. We're not going to have any stock at the event, so if you want one, pre-order that. Guys, on an announcement wise, we're going to be asking you guys on the Frontline Gaming community group what type of events, tournaments, games you want being played at one of our Frontline Gaming Opens. Marvel Crisis Protocol is really hot. Do you want to see more of that? Do we want to bring that to SoCal, which we have it to SoCal? Do we want to bring it to New Orleans, for example? Star Wars Legion, that's been growing. That's growing. Kill Team, of course. Maybe a different format. Do we want to do a 40K friendly at New Orleans? You tell us. And the reason we're asking is because I actually just walked the New Orleans Open venue this afternoon trying to get a lay of the land, checking it all out. That's not till December. So we're trying to figure out what events do we want to fill this space with. We don't have as much space as we have at LVO, but it's a pretty decent amount of space. But we're just trying to figure out what do we want to play there. So within the next few days, log on to Facebook, go check out the Frontline Gaming community group, and tell us what you want to play. Seth, if you could play anything, what do you want?
40K.
40K. Okay. Obviously.
All right. I'm a monosystem guy. Sorry, folks.
No, that's
fair enough.
I've heard absolutely fantastic things about MCP. So if you guys decided to include Marvel Crisis Protocol, I think you'd be tapping into a really, really growing market of players.
Our guest later, he might have an opinion about what games that he would like to play.
Perhaps.
All right. Surprise.
No spoilers.
Okay.
Not in the title or anything.
It's not in the title. Guys, on the background here, I wanted to tell you that we've collected all the data from the Lone Star Open, and it shows, it gives us a lot of feedback. This episode, we really want to talk a little bit about pivoting and how we can pivot to new armies, new formats, et cetera, et cetera. Well, we got all the data here. It seems like the Lone Star Open, people really loved the terrain. No surprise there. People really did like it, but people didn't like the shower pressure at the hotel. So I've already talked to venue management there, and I can promise. I don't know. That was one of the reoccurring.
Was it too strong or too weak?
Probably too weak, right?
It was too weak. Apparently,
because I've been to some hotels where I think I lose a layer of skin every time I take a shower. So,
well, this was not the case. It was not terrible. I didn't have any complaints personally, but apparently that was one of the more reoccurring complaints. And I have great news for all of our fans that want to come back next year. The hotel is actually getting a major upgrade. It's going to have
better shower pressure.
It's going to include better shower pressure and better shower heads. It's going to become a full-fledged Marriott as opposed to a Delta Hotels by Marriott. So it'll be an even better hotel next year. Guys, also, we did run the poll about the Las Vegas team format. That poll has been running for a few days now. All the players that are attending, their vote is going to be separated out from players that aren't attending's vote, I guess. Reese is currently tallying up the data, trying to figure out what format we're going to run the Las Vegas team tournament at, because there was a bit of controversy, a lot of emotion involved, and we want to make sure everyone's happy. So at the end of the day, we're going to do what the community wants, and that will get announced tomorrow. So check out the Frontline Gaming community page, or check out the newsletter that Reese will be sending that will have exactly the format that will be played. So actually, if you're listening to this basically right now, if you're listening to this in your car on the way to work tomorrow, it should already be online. What do you guys think?
It takes Reese a little while to get those answers. He's got to use an abacus to calculate.
Oh man,
love you, buddy.
Dude, he's not that much older than me. So.
Well, he called us young bucks like 4 times in that intro.
At least
young guns. Oh,
geez.
So I think there were a few questions on the chat that were asking whether or not we would figure out the community poll. And so there's your answer, guys, is that we are not done with it yet. We will have your answer tomorrow.
Yeah. I think the answer is ready, but I can't announce it yet. You will find out literally within 12 hours. It should be public. But it will be. It's based purely off of what the majority voted. So,
all right,
cool.
Democracy.
So you can only blame yourselves if you don't like the answers, not us. Huzzah!
I shall always blame you, Shelby.
Okay. Yep, that's fair.
Shelby, what's happening in the FLGN?
Lots of stuff, actually. Just kidding. Not a whole lot of stuff. I really don't have much for you guys on this front this week. So pretty much the only things that I would really mention are, if you were interested in chapter tactics breakdowns of Thousand Sons Codex, they actually had Jim Vassell on. Vassell? Is that how you say his last name?
Vessel?
Right?
Vessel.
Okay. I don't know. I think I've heard it several ways, but Jim Vassell was on chapter tactics giving his breakdown of the Thousand Sons Codex. So if you either play Thousand Sons or wondering what the hot hotnesses out of there, go check out Chapter Tactics. The Grim After Dark, the past, I think yesterday, published their newest episode. And apparently Taylor just like rips apart the Talon of Horus, the book.
Oh yeah, it's pretty good.
He just destroys it. He sounded very displeased, so much so that somebody needed to step in. So if you're interested to hear what is apparently like some really spicy opinions about a very specific 40K book, go check out Grim After Dark.
It was funny. They brought in another guy,
sure.
Tanner, to try to balance out Tanner, who had a positive look on the book, but they ended up just going into weird meme territory.
So I would go give it a listen if you guys just want something funny to chuckle at. And then I think the only thing that I would plug for you guys is to make sure you check into Thursday show's coverage of upcoming 40K events. Seth, do you know of any that are coming up this weekend?
No.
Just off the top of your head. Just
I researched last weekend's events, not next week's.
No,
I live
fair.
a week behind us, not ahead.
Yeah, that's
their
fair.
job.
That's fair.
Right.
Yeah, Thursday show looks ahead. We look behind. It's fine. So speaking of Seth, why don't you tell us about what did happen last week?
Yeah, so again, I'm filling in for Stats Center. One day maybe they'll come back, maybe not. Maybe this is what you guys get from now on is
Forever.
me.
Oh no.
This is just you.
So we actually had a lot of events this weekend. Summer Slaughter over in the UK. It was a 78-player event. That was won by Manny Chima running Orcs. Interesting of note, he is on Team Glasshammer. That's going to come up again. I did reach out to the TO. They did do wind path and then random within wind path, so there were no submarine issues there.
Oh, wow.
There was another UK event, Last of the Summer Winehammer, which I really hope is just like a bunch of people at a vineyard drinking wine and playing
Please tell
40K.
me that is the case. And if it is, where is it? And I will go next year.
It was a 50-player event. This was won by Matt Robertson running Sisters of Battle, also from Glasshammer. And in second place there was Mark Crumbleholm, went undefeated with Drukari, also from Glasshammer. So Glasshammer's just destroying the UK. I'm sorry.
The art of
UK.
war of the UK. Jeez.
Basically. Up in Canada, we had the IWTS Open. This was a 36-player event won by Anthony Richard running Drukari from the Northern Front. And second place is John Kilcullen using Space Wolves, also of the Northern Front and of Goonhammer. But again, Northern Front dominating Canada. This event did use wind path with random pairings. After that, John ran that himself and made sure that that's how it ran. And overall had a pretty good review of how things went. The Iowag Open in Iowa was a 40-player event won by Charlie Andrew. We're running Drukari from Frozen North Gaming. This was also a win-loss, then random within that for pairings for the first 4 rounds. And then the last round, the TO did it by battle points. So you did actually care about battle points at the end, which I think really did match up the top 2 players really at the end, because they did have that. You said that was his concern, was having multiple undefeateds at that end, like 3 or 4, to make sure they really got the, who was going to be first and second kind of thing. And then last but not least, the Gateway Open, a 59-player event won by Matt Root, running Drukari from Frozen North Gaming. Are you guys sensing a theme here?
Yeah.
It's a monopolization.
There is. There was another undefeated in second place, Scott Sasser, with Death Guard, and that was from Forge World Columbia. So at least there was a little bit of variety in who won the events this past weekend. You know what I didn't see on that list anywhere, Kicker? Yeah, you know what I don't see anywhere on this list?
Are any of our top 10 40K ITC players?
That, and I don't see any AdMech.
Oh, yeah, no
Where
AdMech.
are your robots, buddy?
Where are they?
They nerfed us too hard, all right?
Oh, I doubt that. So getting into our ITC recap for the 40K competitive track, we do have a new number 5 this week. That is Charlie Andre. He got bumped into 5th place by a 3rd place showing at the Flying Monkey convention.
Oh, wow. Congrats.
Number 4 is Mark Hurdle. Number 3 is Brad Chester. Number 2 is Sean Naden. And number 1, extending his lead now that we've got the Orlando scores in, is the Boy King himself, John Lennon. Moving on to Hobby Track. Number 5 is Scott Bush. Number 4 is Noah Beto. Number 3 is Nicholas Wenker. Number 2 is JT Steger. And number 1 is Lee Harris. Down to the AOS competitive track, we have number 5 is James O'Brien. Number 4, Jack Ballard. Number 3, Ramon Silva. Number 2, No Aquino, and no one's corrected me on that, so it's staying no. And number 1 is Anthony Trentinelli.
Is that top 5 different?
Nope, it is the same.
Okay, I feel
to my memory.
Okay.
And then AOS Hobby Track is number 5, Ramon Silva. Number 4, Chris Doherty. or Daughtry. I'm not quite sure.
Darty.
Artery.
Artery?
Oh, it is not artery. I guarantee you it's not
Sorry.
artery.
It is now.
Number 3, Chris Hernandez. Number 2, Nick Garcia. And number 1, Noah Aquino. Chris Artery, if you play vampire counts and it's covered in blood, that's just perfect, man. So,
Let's go.
all right, there we go. That
All right.
is your ITC recap.
Whoop, whoop. Awesome.
Shelby, bring us on into our interview segment.
Yeah, man. Okay, so we have a special guest for you guys today. We haven't had an interview in quite a while, and we thought now was probably a good time to bring him in. So today we would like to chat a little bit about how you pivot to a new 40K army. And one of the things involved in that, obviously, is getting that stuff, almost cursed, can't do that, battle ready, right? 3-color standard. So we brought with us today Wyatt Turk.
That's
of
me.
Jacob Club's painting. Hello, there he is. He phased
There he
in
is.
above
Okay,
me.
there he is. Way there he is.
You joked beforehand that he looks like Zordon. I think that is absolutely accurate.
Okay, I don't know if you know
realize
this or not,
his
but
name
Rita
is
Repulsa is attacking Angel
close
Grove right
to Wyatt Earp too. So now I'm like, Wyatt Earp. He's got that good mustache.
So, hello, Wyatt. Thank you so much for joining us. Why don't you just start off? Do you want to tell us a little bit about your 40K experience, your history with 40K?
Man, it's been a while. I found out about 40K when I was a little kid in 2002. There was a kid with the, I think it was Black Templars versus Eldar starter set.
Yeah.
Nice.
Might have been like 3rd edition or 4th
Yeah,
edition.
that was a 3rd edition box.
But he was like, "Have you seen this?" And I was like, "This is the most metal thing I've ever seen. I have to know what this is, right?" And then immediately I asked my parent, I was like, "Can I get this?" No. So, I've been involved with 40K for almost 20 years at this point. But I didn't really get into the collecting and playing side of it until I was in high school, like into high school. But I read the books. Like I was allowed to go to Barnes and Noble like every week, every other week, and buy $15-$20 of books. Nice. And back then, Black Library softbacks were $5.99.
Dang.
So I would just get a grip of them like every.
So wait,
week.
what were you reading? Like, what was your book? Come on.
So the first one I ever read, the first one that got me into 40K was the Eisenhorn Omnibus.
Yeah.
And then the second book that I read was Dead Sky Black Sun. And
nice.
So I mean, like I'm an Ultramarines fanboy from way back. Uriel Ventress is my guy. Like,
so then let me follow that up with what army do you main?
Right now, I'm actually maining Chaos Space Marines. My 2 main collections is Ultramarines. I have almost like 2-3 companies worth at this point. And then I have a big Chaos collection, which is split down the middle between generic Chaos Space Marines and Death Guard. So for most of this year, actually, I was maining Death Guard, and then I switched to Chaos Space Marines.
Do you play around with any demons?
I have demon engines, which are kind of like, they have the demon keyword.
Yeah,
I might have checked someone's score before he came on here, and I think I saw some Dark Angel scores.
I did. I played Dark Angels at a couple of RTTs and at Dallas Open.
Seth does his homework. Jeez, man.
It's just like, what does Wyatt do down to the letter? No, just kidding. That's awesome. I love that you play ultras and the opposite of ultras.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I mean, for people listening, they won't see this, but I have a big 40K tattoo on my arm. So front and center is the Ultramarine.
Oh,
and then I've got a it's hard to see. I got a Plague Marine right next to him, and then on the back I got my boy Karn the Betrayer.
Please tell me they're like fist bumping or something.
No, they're like, it's kind of a montage that they're all like separate. But
Why
together.
would they be fist bumping? They're enemies.
Because it'd be funny and ironic, Seth.
Well,
Humor.
that is dedication. That is dedication.
I would love. I hope you should send a picture of the tattoo just because I'm really curious about.
I have some high quality ones from when I first got it. I can send you later.
Nice, of course.
So when did you learn? I have to ask, like when did you realize you could paint? Because obviously you've got a pretty. You're the guy behind Jack of Clubs, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, yeah. That's my private channel. That's my brand.
Okay. All right. Sorry, I'm taking the interview away.
No, that's cool. Okay. That's cool. I was just to let everybody know.
I thought maybe we were going to OnlyFans territory.
To answer your question directly, I got into painting model kits as a kid with my dad. Like we used to do airplanes mostly. Like when I was a little kid, airplanes were life. You know, I was one of like the 5 archetypes of American boys. It was, it's either like dinosaurs, construction trucks, like trains. Airplanes or astronauts or whatever. Yeah. So airplanes were my jam. And so I did that for a while, and then I got into 40K.
That makes my heart happy. That's so awesome. So yeah, we're basically just going to do this for the next little while and ask you questions about army pivoting and how to get started with building your new army, choosing your new army, and painting your new army. Most importantly, we have some questions from viewers that we're going to set up in the back, and we've also got just a few basic questions to ask you moving into that. So let's just start with, and this is just one out of curiosity. We already asked you about your favorite army to play and just kind of like how you got started painting. I am curious, do you have any like particular hobby projects or painting projects that you've worked on that are your favorites? Is there anything that stands out that you're like particularly proud of?
Let's see. Well, I'm actually pretty proud of my Ultramarine army, like as a collection. It's the one that I've maintained for the longest. Because I have some units in there that are easily over a decade old. Like I have 5 different Marneus Calgars, so I have one of every model that he has, and then I have my custom Marneus Calgar that I own the license to. I have 3 Guillimans. I've got 4 Uriel Ventruses. So I really like that one. I've done some fun stuff. We did some Baja Blast Grey Knights earlier this year based on some memes from my Twitch channel. That was super fun. I made a refreshment rhino in 3D Builder to print out. So it's got like a big Baja Blast can in the back and all sorts of fun stuff.
I love this so much. We should have asked you for pictures beforehand, and I'm so bummed that we didn't.
So
well, check out my Facebook page.
Yeah, do that.
Like I feel like this is a great chance for him just to plug whatever media he wants to plug.
Yeah, I know, right? Jeez, man.
Single model. We'll narrow it to single model. So I think probably my favorite 2 single models in the past while was the new Abaddon and the new Gaz Gulthrog. I had a boatload of fun working on those. I love Abaddon for being able to do lots of fun, like chaosy object source lighting and effects and things like that. And then I like Gazgul because whenever I paint orcs, I get to flex my old school scale modeling muscles and do like rust and paint chipping and enamel washes and all that fun stuff. So it's like 2 different sides of the coin, and I like them both equally.
Nice. Do you ever just get models though that you don't plan on playing with? These are purely painting projects. Like do you have an orc army, or did you just do Gaz because you wanted to paint a beautiful model?
So when Gaz came out, it was purely for that. I built an orc army that I had a lot of fun with for LVO 2018. That was great fun. And then right now I'm actually working on an orc army. It's just so much of the stuff that I want isn't for sale yet. Like I refuse to proxy Mazrog because he's like the coolest model in all of 40K, and I must have it. And then just some of the other things, like so it's kind of slow grow. Like right now I'm doing what I normally do if I start a new army, and it's banging out the stuff that you always need. Like I hit up like 50 boys, so like they're done. I don't have to worry about boys. I did a really cool conversion model that I'm going to be using for Gaz. I know people listening can't see this, but I have him right here. It's Immortan Joe. So it's this giant war boss with the Immortan Joe. Like the whole army is Fury Road themed, so it'll be a lot of fun.
Badass.
Sorry about that, guys. Kelsey is exactly right. I absolutely just had to log off for a second and go snoop on Facebook for all the photos of the stuff.
Oh, you guys gave me crap for looking up his ITC scores.
Well, I was going to chime in and be like, hey, make sure you check those faction scores. But I got bumped out of 3rd place, I guess, like yesterday or something. So I'm going to try really hard the rest of the year to try to get best chaos.
Climb it back. Okay. I lost my train of thought because, I exited the warp. So yes, we're going to talk a little bit about speed painting, and out of curiosity, because I think this ties a little bit into speed painting. So do you have a nice system that you use or some sort of assembly line when you pick up a new army? I realize now that it sounds a little bit like you don't usually pick up new armies, just like new additions to your current armies. That's the impression I'm getting.
No, I do.
Okay.
It just depends. I'm somebody, I don't collect models that I don't intend on using for the most part, like single models and hero models and stuff I enjoy painting. But when it comes to armies, like if I know that army is going to sit on a shelf for a long period of time, I give that to somebody else. Like, I have this weird thing. I don't like my stuff sitting in a closet collecting dust. So
I think that's weird. I think that is a really good outlook. for sure.
Yeah, so like that orc army that I painted for LVO, I donated that to our friends over at War Chief Gaming out in California. So that's in their like showroom.
That's so cool.
I've had like 4 Dark Angels armies in the past. So the one that I made for Dallas, like I have, and I'm probably going to give that to somebody who needs like an army to get started or something. And the only ones I'm going to keep for a long time is the Ultras and the Chaos stuff.
Sweet.
That is so cool.
To answer your question directly, though, speed painting, yeah, I have a system. I teach it a lot in my private courses, and I go through a lot of that stuff on my Twitch channel. And mostly it's just like an order of operations that starts with an airbrush. And I know that like, airbrush isn't kind of a 4-letter word to some people, but it really is the fastest and easiest way to get an army off the ground. Like you'd be very surprised with the difference between doing a rattle can for like priming and base coating and stuff and going from there. So having the airbrush allows you to front load a lot of work before putting it on a wash or doing things like that. So typically what I do is I have the main color of the army. So for example, let's say Ultramarines, right? So with the airbrush, you can prime. You can usually do it inside or just like in your garage. So you don't have to go outside. It's not dependent on the weather. You don't have to shake the rattle can or worry about the paint fuzzing or any stuff like that, right? Yeah. I have physical limitations where I can't really take a whole cardboard box full of models and try to set it outside and rattle can it and then bring it in or whatever. So I just do everything at the desk. And then I do the 3-color airbrush stuff. You don't have to if you don't want to. That takes some practice, but it's relatively easy to learn. So let's just say blue base coat, right? From there, I block in everything on the model. So just a simple base coat. And then through using an oil wash, which is very clean and very easy to clean up, it doesn't stain the model. You're basically done at that point. So you've done all you need to do and have the model battle ready with very minimal effort. And then when you have that full army ready to go, over time, you can come back and do extra steps. Like, okay, I'm going to have this one squad that I do the leather on their tactical belts, right? And then that's done. Or do the work on the metal or whatever step it might be. And so you can get that army on the table really fast and then over time bring that up to a higher display level.
Right. Okay. So that's amazing. 2 things. Number 1, I just noticed both of your cats and your Shiba Inu, who look absolutely adorable, having a great time.
He wants to be their friend so bad. And they want no part of it.
poor guy, poor gal, poor guy.
The dog? Yeah, it's a he.
Okay. So you mentioned an oil wash and airbrushing, of course. What do you have a preferred paint line? Something that you particularly use more often than the rest?
So objectively, it's going to be Pro Acryl by Monument Hobbies.
All right.
I try to be very upfront because I am sponsored by a couple of paint companies. Like I like Army Painter for different
because
reasons.
You're good at it, and that's what happens when you're good at something.
Well, so Adam would hate me if I didn't shout out Army Painter, but I have a lot of their stuff. But the primary paint that I use in almost every day is Pro Acryl. And I have since switched most of my paint line to Pro Acryl, where right now I have 99% Pro Acryl. I have some Army Painter stuff, and then everything else is sort of like a 1 or a 2 here or there. Like I do have some P3, I do have some Vallejo stuff, and I have a bunch of things from like AK Interactive and Immo by MIG for technical work, enamel washes, things like that.
Very cool. Okay, because I know the basic sorts of stuff. I'm not super familiar. I have not used Pro Acryl. Maybe now I will.
I gotta say, like, I've been doing this for a while, and it is the best paint that I've ever used.
Wow.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you for your very, very strong recommendation. So I guess along those same lines, and then I have one larger question, and then we can move on to audience questions. How do you pick your paint scheme? Are you always a classic paint scheme person?
So there's like 3 small answers to that. So one, if you're super hype on a faction, right? Like for me, it's Ultramarines or Death Guard. Or if like your guys are like the Bloody Rose or Mars Forge World or the White Scars or whatever, right? You can always just go with that. Because if it makes you happy, if you're hype on it, if you have that passion for it, it's going to be easier to slog through a lot of that painting. The second answer is something simple that's easy to replicate. A lot of times when I have newer students that are like, I don't know what to do and I just want this army on the table, I almost always say, well, paint your something with metallics, right? Like if you're going to do like steel color, really easy to paint and spray. Gold, same thing. You can do like a candy coat. I just got some of the brand new Army Painter airbrush stuff, and they have some beautiful colored metallics that are ready to go out of the bottle. So they have like blue and red and green and like a cool gold one that's like greenish gold.
Ooh.
Are they all
Interesting.
airbrush paints or layer like traditional brush on paints?
The new line is airbrush ready paints.
Yeah.
But I think they have those same ones ready to go. Other companies have the stuff like that, right? So if you want to do like a blue Ultramarine Army, you can, the fastest way to paint those where it'll look clean and it takes 0 user skill, blue metallic, really easy. It always looks clean, always looks professional.
Nice.
And segueing off of that, like if you want something to fill out a collection really fast, like don't focus on a specific faction. Like if you make up your own color scheme, it'll give that army more mileage, especially with something like Space Marines or Chaos, where you want to be able to mix and match detachments, or like maybe this week I want to play Salamanders and the next week I want to play Ultramarines. Like my custom chapter will always work for that.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then whenever I have a, like, I don't know what to do type of thing, or a good color scheme, or I have a color, let's just say yellow, that I want to work with, I use a color wheel. You can find, there's a million of them online. I use one from, I think it's called Sessions College, like sessionscollege.edu, where basically I just put whatever color I want off of the color wheel, and it generates 6 different color matching schemes. So you have your complementary, split comp, monochrome, and then the ones you want to look at is a triad and a tetrad. So triad is 3, tetrad is 4, and it'll give you 2 to 3 other colors that are complementary and contrasting to that initial color. So for yellow, it would be like blue and reddish magenta, I think, if we're going off of the triangle. And so you're just like, okay, cool, it's set. Like that's all I need to do.
That's
and
cool.
then the tetrad is nice because it gives you 1 extra. And so those are good for like characters, or if they have like extra bits and stuff, you're like, okay, well now I have a green to go in there as well and it'll look good.
I feel like somebody at some point has told me that I should use a color wheel, but now that you've said it, that's the first thing I've written down from an interview. So I'm just gonna try and stick with that. Thank you. That's awesome. So I think that sort of throughout our questions, we've also sort of answered my last question, which was going to be, how do you get an army battle ready as quickly as possible? We kind of talked about that already. You have a system to get there pretty quickly.
And kind of a fun thing, I have a video on how to manage time. Like time management is a big deal. Yeah. So I tell people this all the time, and they're like, what? So spreadsheets, right? Like it sounds super weird. Like how do we get there from, how do I do this from spreadsheets? Well, one of the things I teach most of my students is time management. And you have to figure out how much time you can dedicate to painting on a regular basis. And with some exceptions, I think just about everybody can put in 30 minutes a day. Right? If we're talking like, I need this done as fast as humanly possible, like on a timetable, then you got to work on it every day until it's done. And most people, with few exceptions, can do 30 minutes a day. And then you figure out what you can do in that time. So let's just say day 1 is, I'm going to prime everything. Cool. Easy, achievable goals spread out on this spreadsheet, where you break up your time into very efficient, manageable chunks. And it kind of cues off of that, caveman brain that we have of like, oh, I did a thing and I get a reward. So I have everything laid out that way, even for myself. Like I can paint a 2,000 point army generally in about 14 days if I really get after it, because I structure that. Like I make a plan and I structure it out in my spreadsheet, and then I don't even have to think about it. It's like, okay, what am I doing today? All right, I'm painting all the guns. Cool. Paint all the guns. Takes about an hour and a half for a 2,000 point army. And you're just like, sick, I'm done for the day. I accomplished this thing. I feel good about it.
Awesome. Okay, fantastic. And I think Wyatt was telling me about this beforehand, and he definitely has a video very specifically about these spreadsheets. So if you want to see how he does it in particular, again, go check out his YouTube channel at the very least on Jack of Clubs painting. Mm-hmm. Don't want to forget any letters there. So we have several questions, and I think we have time for most of them. Right. So let's see what we can get through. And at this point, I think all of us should feel free to chime in, especially Seth and Kicker, since I've kept you silent for the most part. Appreciate you guys. But Wyatt, obviously, feel free to continue answering. So a few questions from Facebook earlier, as well as some that have popped up in the chat. Zach from Pittsburgh has asked, how did the top competitive players manage to change their armies so quickly? Also, how are people building their squig bosses and kill rigs? I imagine that is a particularly Seth question.
Well,
I feel like we know the
well, Wyatt, you're a competitor, right? You're in the running for best chaos. I mean, like, how do you do you change armies a lot from chaos, or you're stuck how do people that are more competitive than say myself, or maybe Seth, you can jump in as well, like how do you guys stay in the running? How do you update your arm? Well, I guess Seth, you're an orc fanatic, so I guess it goes back to Wyatt.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
But
Well,
no.
so
Okay.
If the question is like, how do all those top guys pivot so fast? Most of the time, it's because they already have huge collections of just about everything. Some people, like my friend Sean Naden, he's Eldar all day, every day, basically no matter what, right? So he has a massive collection of all the different pointy ears that he can draw from, right? So there's merit to maining one faction and just sticking to it no matter what, having a huge collection so that you basically don't have to add anything new most of the time.
I mean, Seth, that's you, right? You have every single model there is, right?
Yeah.
For orcs.
That is the express purpose of me doing that, is so that if tomorrow they FAQ'd and changed how orcs work, I'm like, cool, I already have all that ready to go.
Cool. And then on the other side of that, like the Art of War guys, they just have a conglomeration of everybody's stuff. So 1 week, Richard can play Grey Knights, and then he can pivot immediately to Tau, or Nick can play Mechanicum or go right into Orcs or something like that. For the average person, I think I would recommend staying with one faction and just rolling with the punches as the meta changes. Kind of update your army in 1 or 2 units at a time, or different builds if you have a larger collection, and just fleshing that out. And then when you have a comfortable place where, like with my Ultramarines, I basically don't have to add anything if I don't want to. I can switch to something else and build that up. And if I can always come home to my warm blanket, which is Ultramarines.
Yeah. I mean, I have a rule: 1 army per year, right? So I'm dedicated. This year it was AdMech. Next year I'm already working on orcs. It keeps me focused. And also, I can't paint any faster. I don't have the time. But cool. Shelby, how often have you switched armies?
Twice. But that's large. So I started playing whenever I was in college, and so I couldn't really afford to collect much of my Space Wolves. So I got my Space Wolves and I was happy with them. When I could, I decided to switch over to Harlequins because they seemed, as I like to say, zoom, zoom, pew, pew, fast, fast. Very, very professional. And then whenever I see something new and shiny that I really, really want, I just kind of start from there and try to limit my impulses to sticking with the one new shiny thing, which in this case was Necrons. And the next case I think is going to be straight up dragons. So,
So dragons are in 40K.
Yeah,
Yet.
well, AOS. All right, look, I'm working on AOS.
What if there's space dragons?
Yes, let's do it.
I mean,
versions are a thing.
There's already a void dragon.
Perfect.
He definitely doesn't look like a dragon, though. I wish he looked more like a dragon.
Do you have a void dragon? Did I already paint one of those?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
The point of his spear may have broken off, but that's fine. He's a very fragile son of a biscuit eater, okay? He is so prone to breaking.
So back to questions for our lovely. We've already answered at least one of the how do you avoid the all-nighter question. I think we've answered that. But one of the ones that popped up that I wanted to get to, what's best for brush care, and how often should you be replacing your brush or brushes, plural?
Oh, you want me to answer first?
Yes, please.
So I use brush soap.
You're the expert here, man.
Yes, please.
I mean, I'm rolling with it, guys. So I use brush soap. What is this old? It's like the OG
one
brand.
That looks like Dapper Dan.
Yeah.
So it's like a tan puck thing.
So I've had the same one for 2 years. It lasts forever.
It's like $10, man.
Although I have noticed that over time, it can be somewhat corrosive on organic brushes. So I actually switched to the brush soap and conditioner from Pro Acryl. It's called the Gentastics Drunken Brush Goop. There's a big unicorn on the front. This stuff is great. So this is something they made in-house, and it works great. It also...
Sorry, can you read that title again, Wyatt?
I know.
So it's called Gentastics Drunken Brush Goop! Exclamation point.
I love that very much.
I love it.
It's really good stuff. And for brushes, I try to soap mine and condition them at least once a week to make them last. It depends on what your financial status is or how much you care. I kind of view most painting implements and accessories as a perishable resource, so I replace my brushes like every 4 to 6 months. But that's mostly just because I paint probably quintuple the volume of most people. So for a normal person, you could get one set of like Winsor Newton brushes or one set of Monument brushes and have them last like a year, 2 years, even longer if you take care of them. And if you want your brushes to last longer, soak them after every time that you use them with the conditioner, and then hang them up somehow. So you want them to hang with the brush down in such a way that won't bend or shape with gravity.
Wow.
Tape them to a wall.
Some people have like cases or, you can do different things, but yeah.
Yeah, I like my solution. It makes no sense, and I'm sticking with it. Just kidding. Anyways, moving on. Thank you, Seth, for asking that one, because I was going to skip and also ask that one to get Wyatt's input. What else do you guys want to ask?
Sam from Australia. When a new codex is released, what is the key information you try and gather from it to improve your knowledge of the Army? Seth, you want to take that one? I mean, you do like codex reviews and stuff.
I don't really do codex.
Well,
reviews,
you do orc codex reviews.
Your codex came out most recently. What was the thing you turned to
yes,
first?
I did an orc codex review because I'm the orc guy. But like, what's the key information you try to gather? Like, what are going to be the popular units? What are going to be the strong, stratagems? Things that are like unique. Like every Space Marine book's probably going to have a way to do some sort of Auspex scan. But like, what's unique about Black Templars? They have the devout push, or they might have devout push, but like what's the unique thing about them as compared to the rest of their similar ilk? Because that's going to be the thing that you mainly need to focus around playing against them. And there's tons of guys out there that are doing like basically full codex read-throughs with breakdowns, and then you can circle back around in a month and find out what the top armies are in those factions.
Chapter
usually
this week.
And that's usually a good way to be like, okay, this is generally the archetype of what that opponent's army is supposed to be. So what you need to do.
Yeah. I just get obsessed with the stratagems really quickly. I like to see if there's any synergy between particularly units and stratagems. That's my favorite thing. I don't know if that's necessarily the smartest thing, but it's what I do. So yeah.
Other questions? Points.
Yeah.
For me, points.
Points. Yeah.
Points. Like usually that's the biggest thing, because like what can I put on the table? How much has it changed from the last book? Mm-hmm. And then from there, in 9th edition, it's more so like the army wide stuff. Your core army mechanics, detachment abilities. In 8th edition, it was all about stratagems, because we would get like 4 or 5 real spicy stratagems, and you build an army around it. Whereas in 9th edition, they're more like having your cake and eating it too. But it's not the core reason to build an army. Yeah. My Chaos Space Marines army is an 8th edition army because we don't have a new book, and it is built around wombo combos and stratagems, and that's going to change when the new book comes out.
Gotcha. Nice. Yeah, you're not wrong, for sure.
Indeed. Cool. Colin from Texas. I think I know what Colin this is. How do you best pivot when stuff is out of stock aside from 3D printing?
Oof. I mean, that's a hard one, right?
Like, try and buy used, but usually stuff that's out of stock is also going to be hard to find secondhand.
I mean, I'm okay with, if I'm playing with friends, I can totally proxy stuff, right?
Or borrow. You can always borrow hammer.
Yeah, I think those are fine. As the orc guy in the room, I just convert. Like, you can just take any random faction model, slap some glue on it, throw it in the orc bits box, pull it out, and boom,
just
you got an orc.
Around.
Yeah, I mean, so you can do conversions, and I've seen people do outside of orcs. I've seen, before like the heavy intercessors were out, I saw some really advanced conversions on how to turn the eliminators into heavy intercessors. So you can do some things like that, and if you really just have to, have a legit product on the table for an event.
Awesome.
Wyatt, what about you? What do you do when we can't get a hold of product?
We know what you do, I think.
No comment.
Uh-huh.
We know.
I think his answer was kind of nipped in the bud there, unfortunately.
Well, we
I
blame
think
Colin for that.
time. We are running a little bit long.
Yeah, we
on
are
time.
running a bit long.
Let's get that last question that we got that just popped up in the chat about
Okay.
painting bases. You
Yep.
want to read it, Shelby?
Oh, yes, of course. Sorry. So I'm assuming this is more of a question for Wyatt. Sorry for just like throwing so many at you, but we just really want your wisdom.
That's what we're paying him for.
Do you?
I expect that check in the mail tomorrow.
Priority, sir. Do you paint bases and models separately when you army paint?
Sometimes. For certain, it depends on the look of the army and what the goal is, right? If I'm going speed, like all speed, then I super glue some sand on a base with some rocks and I glue that guy on the base and I go to town. Yeah. If it's looks and theme and timetable is not an option, I prefer resin bases that are either from, Secret Weapon, Elric's, Cromlech makes some, there's a million companies, right? And then for those, I do typically paint them separately because they're nice and it's just easier to do, right? Or if you are not caring about cost and you are on timetable, what you can do is get some Gamers Grass battle ready bases that are pre-painted and ready to go. And then all I do is paint the red black and we're like, okay.
You said Gamers Grass?
Yeah. Gamers Grass, they do a lot of flocking and stuff like that, but they have a line called battle ready bases where they are pre-painted and everything.
Shelby, they are gorgeous bases. Like they're not cheap, but they are amazing. Yeah, Googling that right now.
So you mentioned, I feel like I remember reading recently, you said Secret Weapon for the bases. Isn't Secret Weapon going out of business? Did I see that or did I?
Maybe. I don't particularly know. I mean, I know they used to make bases.
Yeah.
Like I have a bunch of stuff on Secret Weapon bases.
Yeah. I'm very much, I have some like, detailed bases like that. And I've basically hoarded those because I was afraid that something like that would happen and I wouldn't be able to get them. I'm a really bad gamer when it comes to FOMO, but anyway.
So KR Quinn, really quickly, it's not that we're not going to touch 3D printing. It's that the question literally just said asides from 3D printing. So I don't think it's not that it's not relevant. It's just that the question answers itself.
The official stance of Jacket Club's Painting Incorporated is that 3D printing is awesome.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
I'm 90% certain that Colin asked that question because he's going to be going to GW events for 3D printing is a no.
So we discussed that on a previous episode. It's like that whole policy is mildly confusing and unfortunate and convenient.
I also know for a fact they weren't checking models because there were pictures of people with like
I was curious
models and board game exclusive. I was like, I recognize that one. Why is
I
that there?
feel like the statement is enough to keep a lot of people from doing it.
Again, I really think it's just you kind of put the policy out there, and then that way, if you're if you're about to go on stream and GW sees like, oh, you've got third-party miniatures or you've got obviously 3D printed stuff, like they're like, we don't want, it's their brand, they can choose to show what they want. So I think it's really, if you're not on the stream table, I really doubt that they'd have an issue with it.
I mean, I love my 3D printer. I've got so much time into. I mean, like I just painted this the Hydra Stomper from the Marvel What If stuff that I printed out the other day.
That's beautiful.
I mean, I talk about it a lot because I paint a lot of 3D printed stuff. I really enjoy being from the generation where I am, where I can still see technology with like wonderment. And so like if you go to like 10-year-old me and you're like, hey, one day you're going to be able to put glue into a machine and toys will come out of it. I'm like, get out of here. I can't have that. That's Star Trek stuff.
What? And they're like, look at how cheap it is. And you're like, no.
Yeah. And so now I just I pour the goo into my machine and toys come out. And I'm like, this is great.
We live in a beautiful world.
We do. Sure. All right. Well, let's wrap it up for tonight. Don't forget, you can still get tickets for the SoCal Open. Kicker, when is that lovely event?
That is the October 24th, the weekend of October 24th in the Del Mar Fairgrounds, just outside of San Diego.
Again, there is not a hotel dedicated to it.
No.
Go find one.
Yeah, Airbnb.
Reese says there's lots of great options around there. Don't you worry. In fact, we're going to give out his personal cell phone. You can just ask him for
sure. He really likes when people ask him questions. Like that.
That's great.
It's his favorite.
Don't forget to check out all the other shows coming out on the FLGN. Maybe one day Stat Center will be back. I keep hearing
I'm gonna
about
keep
it.
saying it.
I'm going to keep saying it. It's going to happen. Wyatt, we really appreciate you coming on, man. It's been great having you. Great chatting with you. We have to have you back
Thanks for bringing
here
me on. It was a lot of fun.
sometime when we can come up with a good hobby-related question for you. Final thoughts from everyone hanging out here.
Dude, Wyatt, I am pumped to go paint now. Like, seriously, thank you for coming on.
Really, actually, so somebody asked if NOLA registration opens up this weekend.
Not yet. I just walked the venue. We're not. We're trying to figure out the layout. So
Okay,
we
cool.
will be
So
not yet.
Cool. Awesome.
Probably
Sorry,
weekend
just
after next.
Great question.
Okay.
Popped up.
Good, because
Thank you.
I don't want to miss that ticket kicker.
No, you're
Right. Love you guys. Thank you, Wyatt.
Final thoughts from Wyatt, Shelby?
Wait, I can't tell you what Wyatt's final thoughts are.
I want Shelby. You're
a
a good interviewer. That's your job.
This was a lovely interview.
Yeah,
I'm
it
definitely
was
going to
a
come
lot of fun.
back.
I enjoyed being Zordon on FLG Network.
Shelby, I still feel like you need to be
After
like,
2,000 years, I'm
plug away, Wyatt. Plug away.
Yeah, so I stream
Get out of here, Pizza Angel.
over on twitch.tv/jackofclubspainting. So we've been doing a lot of fun stuff. And Marvel Crisis Protocol is the best game ever. I love it. I'm hopelessly addicted to it. Play it. It's awesome.
Cool.
All right. Well, until next time, thank you so much for joining us. We really hope you appreciated this episode and enjoyed it. Have a great week, and we will see you next Wednesday.
Love you guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.